Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholes. Today's story comes to us from Matilda Chaplin Ayrton's Child Life in Japan. This is the Chrysanthemum Show. Yoshi-san and his grandmother go to visit the great temple at Shiba. They walk up its steep stairs and arrive at the lacquered threshold. Here, they place aside their wooden clogs, throw a few coins into a huge box standing on the floor. It is covered with a wooden grating so constructed as to prevent pilfering hands afterward removing the coin. Then, they pull a thick rope attached to a big brass bell like an exaggerated sheep bell hanging from the ceiling, but which gives forth but a feeble tinkling sound. To ensure the god's attention, this is supplemented with 3 distinct claps of the hands, which are afterwards clasped in prayer for a short interval. 2 more claps mark the conclusion. Then, resuming their clogs, they clatter down the steep copper-bound temple steps into the grounds. Here are stalls innumerable of toys, fruit, fish cakes, birds, tobacco pipes, ironmongery, and rice. And, scattered amidst the stalls, are tea-houses, peep-shows, and other places of amusement. Of these, the greatest attraction is a newly opened Chrysanthemum Show. The chrysanthemums are trained to represent figures. Here is a celebrated warrior, Kato Kiyomasa by name, who lived about the year 1600, when the eminent Shiba Hideyoshi ruled Japan. Near the end of his reign, Shiba, wishing to invade China but being himself unable to command the expedition, entrusted the leadership of the fleet and army to Kiyomasa. They embarked, reached Korea, where a fierce battle was fought and victory gained by Kiyomasa. When, however, he returned to Japan, he found Hideyoshi had died, and the expedition was therefore recalled. Tales of the liberality and generosity of the chief, and how he single-handed had slain a large and wild tiger with the spear that he is represented as holding, led to his being, at length, addressed as a god. His face is modeled in plaster and painted, and the yellow chrysanthemum blossoms may be supposed to be gold bosses on the verdant armor. Next, they looked at eccentric varieties of this autumn flower, such as those having the petals longer and more curly than usual. To show off the flowers, every branch was tied to a stick, which caused Yoshi-san to think the bushes looked a little stiff and ugly. Near the warrior was a chrysanthemum-robed lady, Benton, standing in a flowery sailing boat that is supposed to contain a cargo of jewels. 3 rabbits farther on appeared to be chatting together. Perhaps the best group of all was old Fukuro-kujin, the white-beard and bald head. He was conversing with 2 of the graceful waterfowl so constantly seen in Japanese decorations. He is the god of luck, and has a reputation for liking good cheer. This is suggested by a gourd, a usual form of wine bottle, that is suspended to his cane, whilst another gourd contains homilies. He was said to be so tender-hearted that even the timid wild fowl were not afraid of him. Not the least amusing part of the show was the figure before which Yoshi's grandmother exclaimed, "Why, truly, this is clever! Behold, I pray thee, a barbarian lady, and even her child!" In truth, it was an unconscious caricature of Europeans, although the lady's face had not escaped being made look slightly Japanese. The child held a toy, and had a regular shock head of hair. The frizzled hair of so many foreign children appeared to be very odd to Yoshi-san. He thought their mothers must be unkind not to take the little Western men more often to the barber's. He complacently compared the neatness of his own shaven crown and tidily clipped and gummed side locks. Being tired of standing, the old grandmother told her grandson they would go and listen to a recital at the storyteller's. Leaving their wooden shoes in a pigeonhole for that purpose, they joined an attentive throng of some 20 listeners seated on mats in a dimly lighted room. Yoshi could not make out all the tale-teller said, but he liked to watch him toy with his fan as he introduced his listeners to the characters of his story. Then the storyteller would hold his fan like a rod of command, whilst he kept his audience in rapt attention. Then sometimes, amidst the laughter of those present, he would raise his voice to a shrill whine, and would emphasize a joke by a sharp tap on the table with his fan. After they had listened to one tale, Yoshi-san was sleepy. So they went and bargained with a man outside who had a carriage, like a small gig with shafts, called a jinrikisha. He ran after them to say he consented to wheel them home the 2.5 miles for 5 cents. And that is the Chrysanthemum Show, captured by Matilda Chaplin Ayrton in Child Life in Japan. This is Dan Schulz for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere that you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio and TuneIn Radio. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every weekday morning. Thanks for listening.